have got to do. All right, so it has outlined on the financial provisions, and then followed by the Financial Procedure Act. We have a specific Financial Procedure Act just for the sort of like government accounting operations. And on top of that, we do also have Audit Act. This is also for the purpose of the auditing work, yeah, to be done by the Auditor General. Well, that is on the X part, but on top of that, we have administrative circulars, instructions issued by the Treasury and also the Accountant General Department, yeah, for the purpose of accounting operations, as well as the internal control for the governments, yeah. And of course, when we talk about accounting operations, right, one of the major references of source of authority would be the accounting standards. Yeah. So as of now, of course, when we are in the accrual accounting, we have issued new standards, which is in line with the standards issued by IFAC, International Federation of Accountants. All right. So basically in line with the ISSAF, which is known as MPSAS, okay, which the name is almost the same. It's just that it is the Malaysian public sector accounting standards. Okay, so that is a general accounting framework that govern actually the accounting operation in Malaysia. Okay, so next slides, please. All right, I'm going to share with you a little bit on what the practice of accounting before I talk on the accrual accounting. So before we were in cash accounting for many years, okay? For many years since we got independent. All right, so we got independent from the British government in 1957, and since then we were practicing cash accounting. Yeah, so this cash accounting, I believe you all have been exposed to that. Cash accounting is a very simplified accounting basis, so it's just recognize or record transactions based on the cash movement. Yeah, and if there's a cash movement, then only there will be records on that transaction. Cash movement or cash equivalent would be either cash receipts or cash payments. All right, it's a very simplified method of cash accounting, yeah? of accounting. So in this cash accounting, with its simplicity of recording, there is no records of physical assets. There is no records of accruals and prepayments. So in other words, the recording or I would say the financial statements will also be very simplified based on the cash transaction only. So I believe you can guess, right? The only record, the only financial statement produced by this cash accounting is the statement of cash receipts and cash payments. Okay, so I hope you can see, imagining like, can you imagine like a government, right, and only have this kind of reporting, reporting on just cash transaction, whereas that in government there is, when you talk about transactions in government, it is not just talking about cash transactions. Government purchase huge amount of physical assets. Government's asset is everywhere. Government's lands is everywhere. Government's building is everywhere. Government's other assets like fixed and furniture is everywhere. Government's purchase and owns vehicles. Yeah, military vehicles, non-military vehicles, operational vehicles. Yeah, government purchases that. But in cash accounting, these assets are not recognized. What does it mean by recognized? It means it is not capitalized. It is not recorded in the system, recorded in the accounting system. It is not recorded in the book of the government. Okay, well, of course, being a government, it won't neglect all those information. They have their recording system, they have their system, but that system is not in the accounting system. Whereas being an accountant, okay, or accountant to be, all right, so we want every single transaction, all right, undertaken by the entity, be it a government entity or private sector entity, be recognized, or in other words, be recorded in the system. Nowadays, you are talking about system. Used to be during my time, it's just a book, yeah, in the book of the company or in the accounting system of the company or the public sector organization. All right, so all right, that's why we have now talking about accrual account. Okay, so that is on cash accounting. On the modified cash accounting, this is, I'm not really sure, but this is very specifically in the case of Malaysian government, okay, particularly the federal government of Malaysia. All right, we have what we call here modified cash accounting. Okay, so what does it mean? What is, what is so different about cash accounting? Essentially, it is exactly the same as cash accounting in terms of recognition of the transaction, basically just mainly on cash basis. But the only thing it differs from the cash accounting is at the end of the financial year, when it extends a period, a certain period of time, depending on the administrative authority. It could be 1 month, it could be 1 week, it could be 1 day, it depends. So what is the purpose of that extension? It's a kind of accrue, it's trying to accrue. It's trying to do a little bit of accrual, but yeah, it looks like that, but essentially it is not meant for that, but it is mainly meant for the budget. Okay, so how it works, can you go to the next slides, please? I don't know whether you come across this, but it was being practiced in Malaysia when we had the accrual, when we had the cash accounting. Can you just move? I mean, it should be. All right. Okay, that's great. Okay, just an example. Okay, let's say, our year end in Malaysia is on the 31st December. All right, so let's say the government extend the period for the purpose of payment. All right, the purpose of extending that, I mean, year end is still 31st December, but they open the system, okay? They open the system to capture payments, all right? Payments on those transactions that actually happen in the year 2021. Yeah, in the year 2021. But that payments only any, I mean, the capturing work is only for those payments done for the cost incurred in the 2021. All right, so there would be always normally a huge amount of transaction, because in public sector, I'm sure in Indonesian public sector also, this is also happened. All right, there will be always a lump sum, okay, of transaction being processed towards the end of the year. So with this one, even with this 1 week, it's going to be like capturing thousands and thousands of transactions. Yeah, the reason being is to make sure that, all right, so this payment will be using the budgets for 2021. So the spirit is not really on accrual, but the spirit is more on the budget purposes. This is, being the budget is on cash basis, so it means it is not used up in the financial year, it's not going to be brought forward to the following year. So that is modified cash accounting. It is being practiced in some jurisdictions or countries, yeah, but I'm not really sure whether Indonesia practice this, okay, before they move to accrual accounting. I know that yeah, your government has already moved to accrual accounting, okay, but this is what we practice, the Malaysian government practice, before we move to accrual accounting. Okay, and next I would like to share how is the management of fund, government's fund in the government of Malaysia. So we use the concept of consolidated funds, yeah, whereby we segregate different fund based on different purposes. Okay, like you have got here in front of you, we have the consolidated fund. Under the consolidated fund, you have three different funds, which are the revenue consolidated fund, trust account fund, loan account fund, and and then you have the top part there is basically the receipts for each of the fund. For example, I'm focusing to the revenue fund, yeah, revenue account fund. The revenue for the or the receipts for the revenue account fund is coming from the taxpayers. Basically, either they are corporate taxpayers or individual taxpayers or any non-tax income, basically. That is the revenue for the or the receipts for the revenue account. So these receipts will then be used to, for the purpose of the operations of the government. And you have word like perbelanjaan bekalan, means that is, basically used for the emoluments of the civil servants, to pay for the services and supplies of the government officers, yeah, for the purpose of asset acquisitions of the governments, and we do pay some, charges to different purposes. Okay, and we do pay some payments to our royals. We do pay pensions to our pensioners. All these are basically coming from the taxpayers. Okay, so we segregate that. The reason being why we have these three different funds is for the purpose of accountability and transparency. So we know this fund is only meant for this, and it is not going to be pooled with other funds. Like we have trust funds. Trust funds normally they have a very different, very specific specific objectives. Like government also have funds, have trust funds, you have deposits, we have public trust funds, we have government trust fund. In fact, I mean, these are types of funds that our government is maintaining. So it cannot be simply, pulled together with the fund that is generally coming from the taxpayers, because taxpayers, when they pay taxation to the government, what they want, well, they just want to know this is meant for the governments, yeah, to operate. I mean, basically to run the government. Yeah, it is very specific. When we ask the public to pay for the taxation, that's meant to run for the government and nothing else. But of course, being government, they have other funds. They, for instance, they raise funds, they raise loan funds as well. They raise loans. So it shouldn't be mixed together with other funds. So that's why the government, under the cash accounting last time, we do have this, yeah, different set of funds, because in the cash accounting is a very simple transaction, a simple recording. Is going to just recording the receipts and the expenses only. This is how they do it. Yeah. All right. So this concept is only applicable when we were in the cash accounting. When we move to a different kind, accrual accounting, of course, this concept of consolidated fund or different funds is no longer applicable. Yeah, we have a different way of recording. It's very much same as private sector, where we have a GL or general fund. Okay, so I hope you would be able to appreciate this. Okay, this is more or less like the fund accounting. Yeah, if you have heard fund accounting. So fund accounting is mainly for the purpose of managing different funds, yeah, of the public sector. Yeah, well, of course, fund accounting, although in accrual accounting, it is not really explicit, but we do still have that fund accounting, yeah, in our public sector. It's just that not really explicit like this concept of consolidated fund. Okay, thank you. Can we move to the next slides, please? All right, this is the development of accounting basis, yeah, in Malaysia. generally. All right, so before 2016, before 2018, I would say, we were in modified cash basis, and we have, like, branch accounting system. The updating is on, branch is on, the updating is on monthly basis. It's unlike now that everything is being updated on real time. Yeah, like you guys, you have everything updated on real time. But when we started working, all right, doing the accounting work, the updating is not done real time basis. It's done, on batch processing, monthly processing, and then it moved to what call it, to now real-time processing. So we have that improvement in the system. All right, so yeah, we have come up with a system, developed the system to cope with the development, the expectations, of the public towards the government. So we come up with a very system there. You have, like, for instance, in 2006 to 2018, we use it's not a real-time, but it's a daily updating of processing system, which is the GFMS, Government Financial Management Accounting System. Yeah, and then we have, in terms of accounting standards, we actually adopted the ISSAF cash accounting standards. Yeah, of course, we do revise that when we move to a better, it's still modified cash, but our system is being upgraded, whereby we manage to have daily processing system. So we revise that cash, we revise the accounting standards. Well, of course, after 2019, which I will going to be talking about it later, we already in the accrual basis of accounting. So of course, is a big revamp in the accounting operations within our government. So we have a totally new system to cater for this accrual accounting. All right, so other system at the state level, as well as at the other agencies level, will also need to be revamped accordingly. All right, so that it will be consistent and comparable with the federal government's accounting system. So of course, we have issued a total brand new accounting standards, which are known as MPSAS, which stands for the Malaysian Public Sector Accounting Standards. All right, so this is just the development of the accounting basis. So I would like to also share with you, all right, the financial management. All right, before that, okay. All right, this one, the financial management reforms, which the Malaysian government has undertaken. Of course, in this section, I'll be talking about the accrual accounting, which is one of the major reforms in the financial management. But apart from that, in the management accounting section, we also have several reforms. Yeah, reforms or transformation. All right, so in the case of budgeting, I'm just sharing with you, like, we have now moved, right, from a simple performance-based budgeting system. We now already in the more complex, performance-based budgeting system, which is known as the outcome-based budgeting system. So we have extended our focus not just on the output, but we now focusing more on the impact, or outcome of our expenditure. So it's a bit complex. So this accrual accounting system, one of the objectives is to complement the outcome budgeting system, so that outcome budgeting system would be able to function more effective, for the financial management purposes. All right, so we do also have supplementary system, which is supplementary reforms, to help ensure that the outcome budgeting system will be more effective. For instance, we have just launched in 2021, December 2021, what we call a strategic management accounting and reporting system. reporting, or known as SMART. This is actually the management accounting section, yeah, in our public sector. So it has been formally institutionalized, the management accounting section, to look into the strategic management accounting and reporting. So we have come up with a system, what we know as MyCost, yeah, to actually do the costing on the various activities, yeah, for our governments, agencies, yeah, and also departments. On top of that, we also have micro accounting system. That is basically to come up with the costing for any activities which is not actually in the strategic management accounting and reporting. So, there's any ad hoc activities will be undertaken by the micro accounting system. So we would like, our government would like to ensure that every single activities, every single transaction, activities, programs undertaken by governments, agencies, yeah, will be captured and reported back to the public. That is the whole thing, because we want to have what we call, sustainable government. So we need to have sustainable financial management. Yeah. So we hope that the accrual accounting, together with the outcome-based budgeting, will be helping the government to ensure the government will be always sustainable. Okay. So let us move to the accrual accounting in the public sector. In general first, and then only we move on to the Malaysian context. I think everyone knows accrual accounting. All right, in your case, Indonesia have been with accrual accounting for several years, yeah, I think. All right, so yeah, if you look at what is accrual accounting exactly? So accrual account, the main difference between accrual accounting and cash accounting is mainly on the recognitions of transactions. Yeah, so recognition of transaction by accrual accounting is basically at the point when the revenue is earned, and also when the expenses is incurred. That is the difference, okay, between cash and accrual. Whereas when you talk about cash accounting, the recognition is at the point when that is a movement in the cash flow. Yeah. So in other words, if let's say you purchase, I don't know how much, like in Malaysian ringgit, like 100 Malaysian ringgit, you may be paying only half, $50 ringgit Malaysia. In accrual accounting, that 50 ringgit will be recognized. That 100 ringgit will be recognized. But in accrual accounting, only 50 ringgit will be recognized in the books. All right. And the rest will only be recognized when there is payment involved. And that is, of course, with that accrual accounting, with a more broader spectrum of recognitions, you will have a better information. Okay, better information. Obviously, accrual accounting will be having informations on prepayments and accrual. And another one which is very different, of course, is the recognitions of physical assets. Yeah, physical assets will be recognized in accrual accounting. So that information is going to be very very important, very crucial for public sector. Yeah, informations on accruals also is very important. Accruals means obligations, debts, yeah, liabilities. In public sector, that is very crucial, yeah, for the purpose of financial management. All right, so like I'm putting down in front of you here, it's going to be giving a better information. For instance, information on how resources are controlled by the public sector. This is, looking at the assets, physical assets, yeah, because asset is something that the government is controlling. So that is basically a very crucial information. Imagine Indonesia, how much assets that Indonesian government is having, yeah, it have, for instance, yeah. Imagine if it's not being recorded in the books of the Indonesian government. Imagine across that 1.3 kilometers square, and the assets of the Indonesian government is not being recorded. Imagine that, yeah? So with the accrual accounting, then you will only be able to know how much is the value of assets that your government is controlling now, okay? Cost of providing goods and services, that will be obviously giving the true cost. It's not the cost that is being paid. That means the true cost. If it's 10,000 million rupiah, for instance, that cost will be captured in the books of accounts. And of course, it will enhance the cash flows information and other information for the purpose of assessing the financial position. Financial position is very crucial for the public, for any government. Yeah, we want to improve that. And by accrual accounting, it will allow comparisons across government agencies. Like in the case of Malaysia, for instance, we have different agencies and different different law. Like for instance, our local authorities have been using accrual accounting since 1970s. All right, but not the federal government. So can you see that? So with this accrual accounting by the federal government, now we will be able to see, yeah, we will be able to compare in terms of performance. Yeah, of course, if you look at the private sector, the accrual accounting will be leading towards profits, but not here, but not obviously in public sector. Public sector is more on this, still on the surplus and deficits. Yeah. But still allow the comparability, allow the comparisons between agencies. Okay, I have to be quick, I think. All right, time is running out. All right, so can you move to the next page, please? Is this to share with you early adoptions, which countries have been, the pioneers of accrual accounting across the globe. So obviously New Zealand started first, yeah. New Zealand followed by Sweden, Australia, USA, and United Kingdom. And then later we have Azerbaijan. We have other countries like in the Asian continent, yeah. And then of course Indonesia as well, yeah. For many reasons, but ISSAF expected that by 2025 there would be 61 jurisdictions or countries will be actually adopting accrual fully. Yeah, that means 73% of the countries across the globe. Okay, that would be a good thing. Okay, in terms of what call it, can you move on? In terms of the what call it, financial reporting, I would say standards. Okay, so you can see here your country is using your national standards, but with a reference to ISSAF. While Malaysia, if you look at Malaysia, it is in blue. There is we have MPSAS with a very little modifications, very little modification. I would say it's like 97% or 98% is basically making reference to ISSAF. Okay, that is making a reference to ISSAF for the accrual accounting purposes. Okay, so let's move to the accrual accounting in, all right, yeah, in the federal government of Malaysia. I'm going to share with the Secretariat the latest slides here, because I have got the latest slides. All right, the story or the history of accrual accounting is in Malaysia started in 2010, yeah. At that time, Malaysia, we have our new economic model where we aim to be a developed country by 2020. All right, so in 2010, we have still grappling to achieve that status in 2020. So, well, the people in the cabinet says, no way, we have got to change our financial management to help ensure that, our vision is going to be achieved, because everything will fall back to money. Everything will fall back to how actually the resources in the government is being managed. So one of it is in terms of the accounting system. Yeah, so that is where the accrual accounting started in the federal government of Malaysia. FGOM stands for federal government of Malaysia, though. Yeah. All right. Together during that time also, we basically the Ministry of Finance were instructed to start off also working on the outcome-based budgeting. So in other words, the accrual accounting and the outcome-based budgeting, that means, the accounting operations, we have got to like overhaul the system, not so much with the budgeting system, but the overhaul needs to be done on the accounting system. Yeah, so we have to change, we have to work on changing the cash accounting to accrual accounting. So, well, if you look at these other reasons why our government Malaysia, my government Malaysia, changed to, I used to use the word our because I used to be teaching of public sector accounting to my students. Okay, so I've been teaching public sector accounting for over 20 years now to the IIUM students. So my words was our government. So now I have to tell you my government because I'm talking to my Indonesian students. All right. So by the way, I have several Indonesian students taking this subject of public sector accounting. So they learn about the Malaysian government accounting. Yeah. One of them, you see, others like very is consistent with the general reasons why governments move to accrual accounting, but specifically for Malaysian government, this is to complement, to complement, but that means to corroborate the outcome-based budgeting system, because we need informations from the accounting. All right, we need information to make sure that this outcome-based budgeting system is going to be working. Yeah, we need the cost informations from the accrual accounting, because before this, the cost in cash accounting, the cost information wasn't accurate because they just based on the cash transaction. But with the accrual accounting, it's going to be a total cost for any goods and services by the government. So that is going to be more comprehensive, more reliable information. And that's going to be helping the government to manage the finances. Okay, can we move to next slides, please? All right, this is just, the migrations. This is what we expect from cash accounting. We move to accrual accounting. So we basically, if you looked at that, I have highlighted the assets and liabilities are accounted for. That is one of the major things that the government is actually looking for. Yeah, they want to know how much are the assets, how much is the value of the assets, and how much is the liabilities. Yeah. Liabilities or obligations that the government has got to be prepared to pay. Yeah, like we are not talking about 200. We are not talking about 2,000. We are not talking about 200,000 of government's liabilities. We are talking about, in the context of Malaysia, millions, billions, and nowadays my government is talking about trillions ringgit. Yeah, so it's a huge amount of liabilities. If you want to talk about sustainability of the government, we have got to think about managing this obligation. All right, can we move to the next slides, please? All right, so I'm going to be talking about the implementation strategy here. All right, so we started talking about, in Malaysia, we started talking about accrual accounting in 2010. That was 2010, and then I attended a meeting by the Accountant General in 2013, and then we thought like, we're gonna have the accrual accounting in 2012, something like that, But well, talking about a government, okay, it is not a very simple organizations. It's not a very simple establishments organization. It's a complex organization. A complex, huge organizations. So obviously we need a very, structured strategy. Yeah, well, and then of course the government, my government is not doing just by themselves. They engage with consultants for every single part of the strategy. So what the government has put, have structured. So they're structured into four main items or elements when they want to walk along the journey from cash accounting to accrual accounting. So it's a long process. It's a very it's a very daunting process. Okay, so I'm quite lucky in the sense that I'm not part of the accrual accounting committee, but I am part of another committee, which I think, oh yeah, just now your Master of Ceremony mentioned that I'm part of the committee developing standards for the Zakat Baitul Mal and also Wakaf. Okay, so I have a close contact with those who are working with the accrual accounting implementation. So this is a very big job. All right, by the way. Okay, what they need to do, one thing they have got to look into the standards and policy. Or this is where standard and policy basically set the framework. Yeah, set the framework of the accrual accounting. Yeah, so in standards and policies, they have to set the accounting policies when they are in the accrual accounting. All right, and then they will do the gap analysis. How much different their accounting policies, the Malaysian government accounting policies, what have been set by the IFAC. Yeah, and with that will help them to come up with the standards. Are they going to be like adopting 100% of the ISSAF, or are they going to be doing just minor modification, or are they going to have a totally different accounting standards? All right, so what the accountant general have come up is that they, after they have done all this gap analysis, so they eventually come up with a minor modification. So what is this minor modification? It's just to tally or to make it consistent with the local needs or expectation, local practices of the government, and local law and regulation. Okay, so that's why we have a real minor modification, yeah, on the ISSAF. So basically, we are adopting the ISSAF. What they say, word by word ISSAF. Okay, all right. So by the way, we have around 40 accounting standards already. Yeah, 40 ISSAF being issued for the purpose of these accounting standards, for the purpose of accrual accounting. And then we have also need to think about the law and regulation as well. Remember, the mandates that I talked earlier. So there are mandates that talking about, cash accounting. So need to be amended to be consistent with the expectations of the accounting policies for the accrual accountings. So quite a number of regulations, law. One, of course, is the Financial Procedure Act, all right, 1957, and other acts as well. So we need to work with the Attorney General, all right, to have their advisors, okay, the government. And then, of course, when we talk about accounting system, we need to talk about the system. Yeah, so this again, they need to do some gap analysis with the current accounting system. I mean, the current then was the cash accounting. So they do some, gap analysis, and then they have to now think about, coming out with a new system that's going to be able to not just run the accrual accounting system, but of course, when we do accounting system, now we want to be comprehensive. Yeah. We want to be comprehensive. So yeah, the system is really complex and complicated. Okay, and of course the human resource. Well, human resource is a most, is a very what I would say is an actor in the whole thing. is a very delicate. Yeah, when you talk about human resource, it's a very delicate elements, but we have to deal with this. Okay, because human resource will make sure that the initiatives, the move is going to be very successful. So they have, change management, involving from, the top management until the bottom level of the management. So in other words, it involves all level of personnel in the public sector. Yeah. So of course they come up with the various the various initiatives for the human capital development in my government. Yeah, so let us now looking at specific things, yeah, for each of these element of strategy. I think I'm sharing this to see, I don't know, I have to admit that, I don't know in detail about your government's policy, but well, your government's strategy, but very interestingly is that compare with other countries, okay, other countries, their move or their reform of accounting system from cash to accrual accounting system may be due to external factors, like some due to the donor expectations or funders expectation, okay, but not in the case of Malaysia. Malaysia is realizing internally, all right, realizing internally the need for us to move from cash accounting to accrual accounting, so that we strategize our move based on our pace, all right, and our need. It is not like being asked or required by funders or funders or donors. Is within ourselves. It's an internal process. Yeah? Internal process for us to be better in our financial management. Okay, then can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, this is in terms of standard and policy. In cash accounting, we have, well, of course, we have to come up with the standards and whatnot. But one of the things that needs to be looked into is the consolidated funds concept in the cash accounting. When we move to accrual accounting, we need to change or overhaul that system as well. Right, we have this consolidated revenue, consolidated loan account, and consolidated trust account. How this will be like when we are in the accrual accounting. So with the accrual accounting, we have the concept of general fund instead. Yeah. So for that purpose, this consolidated revenue and consolidated loan account is going to be closed off in accrual accounting as a general fund, as part of a general fund. Yeah, so it will be part of the what call it, net assets and equity. Okay, it will be appearing there. So there won't be any more consolidated revenue and consolidated loan account when we are in the accrual accounting now. However, the consolidated trust account will still be there, maintained by the government, because when we talk about trust fund would normally have a different kind with a specific objective, so we cannot simply just closing off them like that. So that's why the government will still be maintaining that trust fund account separately from the accrual, from the general fund. But of course, they will be in accrual accounting as well, but it is not pulled together with the general fund account. And of course, one of the main activity apart from this, yeah, changing, overhauling the whole accounting system, another major strategy is developing the ISSAF compliance standard, which is the MPSAS. Sorry, we have 37, because although we have 47 issued, but 3 standards has already been nullified, yeah, because it has already new standards coming in, so that standard is no longer available. To see, how long is the process of coming up the standards in Malaysia, yeah. So with that 40 standard, 3 standards has been, nullified, yeah. So next, All right, we have law and regulations. Yeah, so law and regulation, these are the acts that we need to do amendments. Financial Procedure Acts has got to do with our consolidated concept. All right, so together with the Domestic and Loan Act as well. All right, so because these things, Legacy Acts and Development Acts, they are mentioned in the Financial Procedure Acts. Loan Act has got to do with the loan account, a loan consolidated account. Same goes with the Legacy Acts. Development Fund Act, it is related to the Trust Act, so it needs to be amended. But you see, when it comes to law, it takes so long to get it done. And I share with you the process of amending. Yeah, it has got to do preliminary process and then go to our parliament's houses. We have 2 layers of parliament's houses. The same case like Indonesia, you have 2 layers as well. So over here we have 2 layers as well. We the amendments of laws needs to go through 2 layers and then only being finalized when our Yang Dian Agong and Khalid agree with that. So I mean, to share with you, although we have actually in Malaysia, we have actually implemented accrual accounting across the federal government of Malaysia, the law is still stuck somewhere. Yeah, and that's why, although the system is there, we have actually doing the accrual accounting, we have practicing accrual accounting, but our financial reports are still based on cash accounting. So it is a very interesting. We are still in the process of getting the law being, the law has not been finalized as yet. Okay. All right. That is, I think one thing that I'm sharing with you in terms of the accrual accounting in Malaysia. Okay. Next, this is where I think I have to talk myself. All right. We talk about, we have, can we go to, not this one, go to the process and technology system. All right. Yeah, this is the process and technology. What we did, okay, we changed the whole entire system. All right, we have already got like GFMS. Well, the system is already good, but the system, that system is not comprehensive as the IGFMS. Yeah, IGFMS allows the accounting system to be decentralized and centralized. Decentralized means as a result of this accrual accounting, the operations of accounting is going to be managed by the individual responsibility centers. So that means we have around 24, if I'm not mistaken, what we call self-accounting departments. So these self-accounting departments will be actually managing the accounting operations by themselves. So only the reports or the data will be transferred to the IGFMS. Okay, and IGFMS is the system under the new system developed due to the accrual accounting. It's going to be integrated with other systems, especially the budgeting system, which is now the OBV. We have also a system for the budget, we have a system for the human resource as well. And I have shared with you, the various systems that, being integrated with the IGFMAS. Okay, so it's a very complex and complicated system, and we are trying to harmonize the system with other systems as well. So this is the strategy, that one of the strategies to make sure that, accrual accounting will be successful. And of course, you're wondering, so why, the system, accrual accounting is already implemented, but the reporting is still using cash accounting. So you might be wondering how. So one good thing about this IGMFS is that it runs both accrual and cash accounting. Okay, so so far, based on information that I got from the AGD, Accountant General Department, so far, in terms of reports, in terms of system, it's already been okay. Of course, there are hiccups here and there, but the system is fine and well. They are able to run both accrual and the of course, the cash accounting simultaneously. Another reason why cash accounting is still being run together along with the accrual accounting is because you will see later one of the challenges with this accrual accounting is that our budgeting system is still based on cash accounting. Well, the one that I missed from these slides, I don't know why. When I check back, I missed one. Perhaps why when I did prepare, but perhaps when I do the saving, it's just gone. I did prepare for the human resource. Yeah, the human resource. What we did to ensure that it's going to be okay. Right. So one of the things that we do, the government did was doing the change management. Yeah, change management means they are doing some buy-in engagement with the top management of each government agencies up to the bottom. Engagement with all level of civil servant, all right, or official and civil servant who involved directly with the accounting operations. All right, and who would be and who has involved. Why these two? Because there's a change in the accounting operation. Used to be in the cash accounting, most of the accounting operations are done by the accounting general department. But with the accrual accounting, all right, most of the accounting operations are done at the level of the department. Yeah, so that is going to involve not just the accountants, not just the accounting officers, but the non-accounting officers as well. So the accounting general need to give exposures, awareness, continuous training to them, to and also to face all this resistance from that. Yeah, because it's a big change from a very simple accounting to more complicated accounting. Accrual accounting is complex, yeah, and complicated. Not just the treatment, but of course the reporting as well. Right, that is in terms of accrual, in terms of human resource, and to ensure that the accountants at the accountant general department has the right competency. So the accountant general department has come up with initiatives with the professional accounting bodies like ACCA, CIMA, our local chartered accountant bodies, and also the Australian, I can't remember I can't remember the Australian accounting bodies. They provide training, and also they provide training to the accountants, as well as the accountant general department actually ask their staff to do professional accounting certification. So that is to ensure that the government would have the right competence, the right expertise to handle this accrual accounting. That is the strategy, and is ongoing strategy. Yeah? When it comes to human resource, it doesn't stop there, but it is continuing. The initiative is continuing, right? So yeah, next move to the next before that, before another before. All right. Well, because at the end of the day, this is what the government wants. All right. They want at the end of the day, the reporting will be comprehensive. So this is what we're going to have: statement of financial positions, statements of financial performance, cash flow statements, statements of net asset and equity, statements of budget performance, and notes to the accounts. All right, this is very similar to the reporting structure of the private sector, except that in our case, we have statements of budget performance. This is to address the accountability issues to the stakeholders. Yeah, because stakeholders, especially the taxpayers, would like to know what happened to the tax paid to the government. So budget will address that very very explicitly. So how much money that the government received, and how much money that the government has spent. Yeah, so that is, at the end of the day, this is what they want. Yeah, at the end of the day, we want to report back to the stakeholders, to the main stakeholders. So these reports communicates what the government has done, communicate what the government has been performing on the contributions by the general public. All right, and I think we can move to the challenges. I'm not going to talk very much on the challenges. I will just focus into the main challenges, but these are the main challenges actually. One of the main challenges is, I will go for the assets. One of the main challenges by Malaysian government is in terms of assets. All right, they have to actually come up with the opening balance for the assets. So how are they going to do that? Okay, I mean, for the new assets, it's no problem, but for those assets that has never been recorded in the accounting, how they will be coming up. And you are not talking about 2 or 3 or 10 or 100 assets that belong to the government. You're talking about thousands. I couldn't imagine when Indonesia first started with accrual accounting. But when Malaysian government, I mean, especially the Accountant General Department, has got this big problem. So that's I mean, initially when they plan to have it launch the accrual accounting in 2015. I mean, the problem is still there in terms of coming up with the assets, the opening asset. Opening balance of the assets. You have to come up with, you have to do valuation of the assets that may be purchased 40, 50 years back. And you know that when you talk about government assets, some of the assets do not have market value. You're talking about military assets, you're talking about heritage assets. You may not be able to, I mean, it's quite difficult to get the market value of those assets. Of course, you have options either to recognize or not to recognize. But if the government states that they want to recognize, so it's a big problem to the government. So this is a real big challenge. Well, of course, the government allows 3 years, 3 transition years, to come up with the accurate opening asset value, but it's still a daunting job for the government. Well, another daunting job for the government is on the budget, because budget is still on cash, but the account is on accrual. So that's the thing, how to make it consistent. So that's why we need to do some, reconciliation every now and then. Okay, although obviously in the first place that accrual accounting is actually to help the cash manage the budget management, but somehow because the budget is still on cash basis, but the accounts is already in accrual accounting, it has got a gap there that needs to be managed. Well, of course, the consolidated fund, it requires this because of this change in the accounting system, so the whole maintenance of the government's funds need to be overhauled. So it redefined the whole concept of consolidated fund as net assets and equity. It looks like simple, but it takes quite a big job for the Accountant General Department. Of course, another thing is engaging with the auditor or the auditor general, who will be actually verifying the assets. And because of this process is a gradual concept, so every now and then the auditor general has got to do engagement with the auditor general department, to update them on the latest development on the accounting operations. So these are the challenges. Well, other challenges will, of course, another challenges that is continuing inherently being faced by the Accountant General is resistance by the human being. That is human being. All right, can we move on to the last slides, I think? On the critical success factors, those challenges, well, those need to be overcome, but on top of that, to ensure that this accrual accounting will be functioning as what the government wish or expect. So there are things that need to be done by the government. Some have been done, some need to be some have been actually done by the government. Some of them need to be continuously done. For instance, the accounting system is already done. Okay, data collections has already been done. But in terms of change management, commitment from the top management, this is something that the government is still, the Accountant General is doing it continuously, yeah? Because without the commitment from the top management, okay, especially now when we have decentralized accounting operation, whereby the responsibility centers has got to manage the accounting operation. Well, the top the officers that is responsible for that responsibility centers need to be very committed, all right, and understand the concept and the need and the importance of accrual accountings for the government. So that needs, yeah, it needs to always, engagement needs to be always done by the Accountant General Department. Training the relevant staff of official need to also be doing it, to be done continuously. And like, for instance, awareness program, comprehensive capacity building needs to be done continuously. As you know, perhaps you are aware that in public sector, turnover of staffs is very high. Turnover here doesn't mean that the staff stop or resign from the public sector. It is not. But turnover here means the movement of staff from one agency to another agency, from one department to another department is very high. So all the, training, awareness program needs to be done continuously if accrual accounting were to be successful. Okay. Otherwise, because when people are moving from one department to another department and it is not being trained continuously, so it's going to be very difficult. Yeah. So I think I'm going to stop here. I think there's a lot of things that I have shared with all of you here. Okay. So before I leave you, or before I end this, I would like to share one. I've been saying all good things about the accrual accounting, but I have take home questions for you to think among yourself. Okay. Well, of course, we talk about the comprehensiveness of accrual accounting. Yeah. Helping in the case of Malaysia, it's expected to help the budgeting system, yeah, providing comprehensive information and those things to the public sector. I have this one question for you to take. Does accrual accounting really useful for public sector after all these efforts by, like in the case of Malaysia, efforts like, the strategies that I have shared with you, like coming out with the accounting system, it is not a little cost to the government, to the Malaysian government, when the government has got to come up with a new system altogether. Talking about the human resource, developing the human resource for the accrual accounting, developing the accounting standards for the accrual accounting, talking about amending the law, yeah, to make sure that accrual accounting will be able to be communicated to the stakeholders. It is not a small cost. Okay. After all these efforts, after knowing well, generally, accrual accounting is useful. But does it really useful for the public sector? Okay, this is a questions that I want you to think. Okay, questions that I want you to think and find it out. You may be reading, you may be discussing, you may be asking people, asking your lecturer perhaps, asking your friends, discussing with your friends. Okay, does accrual accounting really useful for public sector? Okay, with that, I thank you all very much for the time and attentions for 1.5 hours. I'm really sorry for taking up 5 minutes more than what it's supposed to be. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Oh, no, not Mr. Sister MC. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, for the great explanation and interesting material that you have given. Okay, to all of you guys, if you have any question, please raise hand and turn on your camera.
Is there any questions? I would try to answer if I could. Yeah, if not, I may have to do some research to answer your questions. One question that I have you in general, yeah. Do you all actually have a subject on government accounting in your course? I can't hear you, sister.
We don't have, ma'am.
Oh, you don't have that. That's why you have this summer school, yeah?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, in the case of Malaysian universities, those who are taking accounting courses, this public sector accounting is a must. Yeah. So they have to do public sector accounting for them to graduate. That's where I am for 20 years teaching public sector accounting to my students.
Yes.
I have some Indonesian students as well taking my subjects. Yeah, I hope they would be able to appreciate that subject and bring back to his home country.
Yes. Okay, ma'am.
Okay,
I think there is no question.
It's no question. I thank you very much again. I would like to thank for the time, for the invitations to share my little knowledge with all of you, the experience that the Malaysian government had, yeah, in the course of implementing or adopting accrual accounting, yeah. So for the purpose of improving the financial management of the government. All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Siti Alawiah Siraj, for the attractive material. Hopefully, it can help the audience to have a better understanding of government accounting, past, present, and future direction. All right. We continue to the next session is photo session. Please, all of you guys, turn on your camera. All right, are you ready, guys? I count. 1, 2, 3. Once more. 1, 2, 3. All right, we are turning to the last agenda, which is closing. As the master of ceremony, I do apologize for any mistakes during this event. I would like to say thank you very much, and then see you at the next event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
I would like to also apologize for any weaknesses and shortcoming during my presentation. Yeah?
No,
Hope to see you all in Malaysia.
Okay, see
inshallah.
you, Miss.